Whatever driver needs to know is how to double clutch. And what you do with that is when you're in a gear position, you push the clutch pedal down, which releases the clutch, move the gear shift lever to neutral, release the clutch, which engages the clutch, quickly push the clutch pedal down again to release the clutch, move the gear shift lever in the next gear position, and then release the clutch pedal, which engages the clutch. And that's basically how you do a double clutch.
How do you know when to make a shift?
What you're trying to do is you want to match your engine RPMs to your road speed. And the tachometer is a valuable tool to do that with. You can use that for upshifts and for downshifts. And what you do is on an upshift, you want to decelerate the engine until you match the engine RPM with the road speed. And on a downshift, you want to accelerate the engine RPM to match the engine RPM and the road speed. The old technique was to take and run the tach up or the engine till full governed torque, and you don't need to do that. With the newer techniques, you're able to save fuel and wear and tear on the driveline. And the manufacturers of the new engines were able to lower the torque range to match those lower RPM engines. And that's what you want to do. You always want to match the engine RPM with your road speed.
Dale, I've heard of drivers who brag about being able to shift with only a single push on the clutch or without using the clutch at all. Is that okay for the transmission?
No. You can take a skillful driver or professional driver, they can make at least 80% or more of the shifts without the double clutching procedure. However, for every missed shift that they make, that progressively causes damage to the transmission. And that's where this progressive shifting is kind of a misleading term. Progressive shifting, which is basically going 1, 2, 3 consecutive shifting, has now gone the wayside, and you come into what is called professional shifting. In professional shifting, you are shifting and you're upshifting. Drivers will always try to anticipate. They want to get into the highest gear possible as soon as possible.
So professionals shift as little as possible?
That's right. What they'll do is if they have light loads or a gradual downhill decline, what they'll end up doing is they'll take and either skip shift or upshift to make use of the improved low RPM engines. And also, when a driver is going down the road and they're going to approach a hill, they'll take and accelerate and use the momentum of the truck to get up that hill as opposed to having to constantly downshift, because they want to shift as little as possible. The reason that they would also want to downshift is because if traffic dictates it, or if they fall out of the ideal RPM range of the engine, then they've got to make a downshift. They also know about the range change. They know that when they in gear position, they go ahead and they can pre-select it, and when they go through neutral, it'll make a change. They know not to shift or make a range change when they're in the neutral position, because it'll definitely cause transmission damage.
So you should be able to take progressive shifting to professional shifting if you remember that you don't have to take the RPMs to the top of the governor, and you don't have to shift every gear.
That's right.
But how do you know what type of transmission the truck has?
That's a good question. One of the first things you want to do is try to look for the shift diagram for the transmission, because they have different shift sequences and they can be located in different places. They can be either on the shift lever, they could be located on the dash, or it could be over the visor.
I'm beginning to see that the driver is the big part of the system. I mean, really the only part with the freedom to make the decisions. So the professional driver should have a clear mental image of the moving components when a lever is moved or a pedal is pushed.
Yes. The driver's going to decide when to move the shift lever, when to use the clutch pedal, when to use the accelerator. They're all inputs. He wants to get into a shift sequence or into a rhythm. And they understand this by listening to the engine, by looking at their tach. Those are all those sensory inputs that a driver gets. And the only way that you can do this is by everyday practice driving on the road.
So, in summary, Fuller transmissions use a twin countershaft design to reduce size while maintaining strength. Power flows through the main input shaft and then to the two counter shafts and then to the main shaft as the main shaft gear is engaged with the sliding clutch. Eaton transmissions have a front box, which is lever actuated, and a back box, which is air actuated. The sliding clutch in the back box has a synchronizer to allow for smooth air shifts. The sliding clutches in the front box require driver skill for smooth shifts.
Yes, there are so many different transmission models today for different trucks and different applications. And one of the things that the driver has to understand is the different shift sequences, different air systems, and how to properly shift all of these different models. And the best place to do that is to refer to the driver's manual, and then that way you will have the proper information to properly shift those transmissions.
Now we review the Fuller manual transmissions in the following 4 categories. Medium duty 5 and 6 speed transmissions. On highway 10 speed transmissions. Performance 13 and 18 speed transmissions. And vocational deep reduction transmissions. Pick the module that best matches your needs. Good luck.